In the famous words of the esteemed poet Jacoby Shaddix of Father Rocher, cut my life to pieces. This is my last resort. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the guy who is still too cool, read and secure, to acknowledge bangers from the aughts, Kevin Grech, and the guy who operates the confessional dashboard, Alex Plum. Was there a debate that I missed out on?
I'm just too cool for Papa Roach, I think is what I was trying to convey with that.
There it is.
But then also, give everyone a little indication that, it's probably just insecurities that he has. You know,
he gets it because he gets it.
You should take some time to explain
like them.
Your thoughts on how culture stopped when we were in college. People would
except
love
for
to hear
I think
that.
that is true. That's really good summer
then
fodder.
Segue into your takes on Jay Billis and how he's the greatest.
Yep, 0% boomer, Jay Billis. 0%.
You're joking about this, but I've literally just gotten into, I've rediscovered old episodes of Car Talk on NPR, and I listened to them. And today I was on a little jog, and I listened to a 1995 episode about a woman's Toyota and its brakes. Did you not listen to Car Talk when you were younger?
I loved how even in the 2012s, they would still only take calls about 80s and 90s cars.
Yes.
That was my favorite part of the Tappert brothers. And
100%.
They're never going to take a car about and a call about a 2009 Buick that just was not on there.
Yes, exactly.
And it made me think maybe it's not real.
Yeah,
but yeah,
no.
Tappert brothers.
I didn't listen to Car Talk, but I did do You Bet Your Garden, which was a WHYY a call-in show about gardening, and same premise, right? Except it's fantastic. And I lived in the city that had
explains
no garden. Had
that
nothing.
explains why
Wasn't
no one cares. It explains why Plum and I still live in Michigan. We're red-blooded Americans, and you have your little sissy garden out on the East Coast. That explains everything.
That's exactly it. Wow, you really named it.
wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're losing listeners already.
Cool. We're going to thank everyone for listening to all of that. And truly, this is us. This is better than what we're about ready to do. So we're going to thank you for listening and ask the small favor to please share the pod and YouTube channel with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. You can also find us on YouTube at Spartan_pod if you decide you want to see this for some reason. This week we're of course going to start behind the green wall, where football would ordinarily lead, but Jonathan Smith said, "I don't want anything to do with this week." We're gonna chat some basketball, some hockey, some gymnastics before we head off Grand River to discuss the wider world of collegiate sports and its changing landscape. Before we preview Purdue and take your Twitter questions. Okay. I think as we head behind the green wall, we should acknowledge last week we made a mistake. We published an episode entitled "It's a Great Week to be a Spartan," or something to that effect.
So we disavow that episode, right? Just staunchly disavowed.
It should have just been in past tense, because this was... I don't know the last time I've been this upset. I don't know the last time I've been this angry about sports.
Is it upset or is it disappointed, Michael?
Wow.
No,
that's it. That's the question.
We're in a if men's basketball was a son of mine, we're in a get out of the house situation.
Uh-oh. There it is.
Just
Kick
go to your grandparents, or I don't care where you go. One of those situations.
That's more of it.
But you can't stay here. So we've got two games to talk about, two losses at home to talk about against teams that, if they're lucky, are at the NIT.
We also apparently have trauma of your youth that we have to talk about and walk through over the course of this podcast. But
Blake can do no wrong. He's fine. But let's start with the Iowa game. And I think it's fair. I think in my mind, the story of this week splits in two parts. The Iowa game is on the players. The Ohio State game is on the coaches. But let's start with the first one. Iowa takes, I don't know. Can you say was it a good game? I don't know.
For them, yeah.
Yeah, Iowa had a great game.
There's no doubt that they played a good game, if that's what you're asking.
And had fun to boot, I believe.
Yeah, MSU loses 71-78 in a game that at times they flirted with being in contention for, but Iowa never let it get there. Does anyone have any initial thoughts about this game? I certainly have plenty, but I don't want to just get angry.
Yeah, I mean, this one, this is what happens when Tyson Walker is not being Tyson Walker and Jaden Akins stops hitting those, shots that we were kind of starting to think like, oh, maybe he's figured it out. Maybe he's put it together. And it's apparently a very losable game at home to a mediocre Big Ten opponent that now all of a sudden is starting to become a habit, I guess, whether you want to blame it on the players or on the coaches. This one, it's nice of you. I think it was very generous of you to say that MSU flirted with getting into it. I didn't think there was even a moment in the second half where I thought they were going to win this game, or even get close to winning the game. So this was just like full Iowa came in. It reminded me of like a mini version of the Wisconsin game that Jonesy, you and I went to at Breslin Center, where it just was not competitive almost in the second half. Every time MSU got some form of momentum, Iowa answered and answered convincingly. So I didn't think it was possible when I did the preview last week that this program, this team was going to lose both of these games. And now here we are. Plum, what do you think?
Well, it is, it shouldn't be surprising. I don't even know where to begin. We could just start with the rotation, I guess. This is it's on the players to an extent. It always is. They've got to win the games, especially when they're at home. But a lot of this is coaching, and this is another example, I think, of Izzo really, I don't know, is this whole storyline just jumping the shark? Like, where are we at now? Is he done? Are we done? I don't know where to even begin. Is this idea that we trust him through, December, January, and February, and he gets us into March, and that's just looking less and less plausible when you're leaving. I mean, my God, the Ohio State alone, inconceivably bad. 17 road game loss streak without their head coach summarily fired, without their best player injured. And we were up 12, I think, at some points in this game, and then just collapsed for no reason. And I at one point I was like, oh my God, we could lose this game. And then I was like, I mean, that's just stupid. So I don't really know. I mean, we can point at the rotations for sure. Even John Beilein came out and said, too many bigs, too many bad bigs. Let's start there. Too many bigs, and they're all bad. It's a Dr. Seuss story.
We saw how many bad bigs.
How many bad bigs big up the bad game? Bigly.
We saw the double big lineup come back out against Iowa. To me, Michigan State goes 10 for 20 from the 3-point line, which normally you'd say, great. But the reality is in the Iowa game, we missed 8 layups. Went 7 for 14 from the line. But to me, the 7 for 14 is certainly, if we go 100% from the line, ties us the game. But it's the 8 layups and Robbie Hummel in the broadcast talked about, because in the first half, Malik absent, AJ absent. AJ ended up playing a pretty decent second half, but ask why does it always take what is this? What's with the seniors and why it takes this long for them to get going?
Is it that they need to go down 15 points before they can turn it on, or before they care at all?
Before they care.
And that's what I mean about, when I say this one's on the players, because, certainly in Iowa, Xavier Booker had 2 first half. We're going to talk Booker plenty later on, but I think a lot of the discourse around Booker really started to heat back up again because he had 2 successful stints in the first half, didn't see the court in the second half. So, I mean, there's some things you might be able to point to, but the reality is it's 8 missed layups. It's Malik Hall not getting to his spots. It's AJ Hoggard not getting downhill, not making buckets you should make as a 5th year or 4th year player.
Well, and against Ohio State, you had Jaden Akins strip the ball, stole the ball 3 times, each time on fast break opportunities, failed to get the easy layup. Failed. Blocked once it was like in and out the rim. I don't know what the third time it was. What the fuck are you doing, my guy? If you can't solidly get yourself into the lane and just put the ball into then stop. Then don't drive the paint. Just back out, hold the ball, distribute it.
Take a 3.
Do anything. Anything but that. Your dog pisses on the carpet once. Maybe you give the dog a little bit of a no. Mm-hmm. The dog pisses on the carpet a second time. You've got to drink bleach, because what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And the third time,
that's a normal escalation.
That's a normal escalation. I don't know what you do the third time. I guess.
Well, it's a taxidermy.
Nuclear war.
It's a taxidermy dog, so I guess we're wondering.
Well, by that
why
point,
is
the
still
dog
pissing?
is totally gone. But you can taxidermy yourself. And that's my point here. I don't know what we're doing, but none of it's working. And fucking around with the rotation this late in the season is exactly what we did last year, to not any positive effect. I am so tired of looking at Malik Hall's dead behind the eyes, listless lifelessness. I do not care for him. I cannot stand the thought of AJ Hoggard, who, in the fullness of time, history will affirm, is in fact this program's worst point guard. There is no denying that. And I defy anyone to point to a point guard that has been less productive than AJ Hoggard on any number of.
Tom might raise his hand and be like,
"Me? No. Because you know what Tum Tum could do that AJ apparently can't. He could inspire. He could inspire his teammates.
Yeah, we had another point guard that turned out to be a murderer. Still better.
I don't know what to say. Better. I don't know what to say.
The thing is, you look at the Iowa box score, right, and you would say Tyson 16, Malik 16. Malik had a double-double, 16-10, right? AJ 15 points. And you would reasonably think they played well, but they didn't. It was terrible.
Yep.
And it's also alarming that Iowa, which has, by defensive efficiency measures, the worst defense in the Big Ten, was able to stymie the MSU offense. There was no flow, couldn't get in the lane. It sucked.
Yeah, and bullied them. Had a rebound advantage at home. Just brutal. Or Iowa had a rebound advantage at Breslin Center is what I'm trying to say. These 2 losses, man, are some of the worst that I can remember.
Yeah.
Do you want to focus on the Wisconsin loss or the
Ohio State?
The Ohio State loss, because I think that's the one that's fresh. You know,
Yeah,
that's the one that's just like it's the seething, gaping, open wound.
Yeah, I will just say one of the fine. I want to talk about the players though and the cultural thing. I want to circle back to players and culture at some point in time because
we'll come around.
The one other thing, Sheehan had Hummel on his podcast after the Iowa loss. Thanks, Sheehan, for big timing the rest of us. But Hummel was asked about like what's going on with MSU, and he made a comment about how when he played that they only did two things during practice leading up to Michigan State. Two things. They rebounded and transitioned D because Corey Lucius was going to be, or I think he said Corey or Kalen, doesn't matter. But they were going to be running the ball down your throat off of anything. Makes, misses. And it feels like to me, I don't know if you all noticed this, that we've had years now where people are unsure who's supposed to inbound the ball.
Yeah,
sure.
Like,
yep.
It is wild at me to see AJ just standing there,
yeah,
like waiting for somebody to come back to pick up the ball that's just sort of idly bouncing on the ground.
Yep.
To me, that is a bit of a coaching thing too. Like, how are people not on the know your job?
I know you want to blame the coaches for the second game, but we did actually see in the first half of the Ohio State game what a vintage MSU offense is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Brad Nessler and Jay Wright were like, what is this? They're pushing the ball so hard. You know, back when this team was up 15 points on Ohio State in the first half and the game was worth playing and life was worth living. It was fun. It was fun. And we can get back to that at some point. I'm sure we'll talk about Xavier Booker playing during that time and not playing in the second half. But when it came to winning time down the stretch, when it came time to actually securing this win, a very winnable game against a, Plum, as you pointed out, interim head coach who, you know, is up against a Hall of Famer. In the last 8 minutes, and this is borrowed from someone from the internet, Walker, 3 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists, 1 for 2 from the floor, 1 for 6 from the floor. Hall, 1 for 1 from the floor, 2 points. Akins, 0 for 2. Hogard, 0 for 1. Mahdi, who was on the floor, 0 for 0.
Oh,
when it was on the line, these guys fumbled the ball, and there's just no grit. There's no want. They tensed up too much. In the press conference, Izzo's talking about like, oh, Mahdi was out there because, you know, Xavier Booker couldn't guard the ball screens. Like, it didn't matter. The whole team tensed up way too much, lost their identity, and lost the game.
okay.
Listeners, go onto YouTube and look at the look that I just got shot.
Yeah, he got quite
by
a
Mike
look.
Jones.
Quite a look.
No. It's not.
daggers.
It's not you. It wasn't you. It was you. It was you saying something that Tom Izzo said, because he's the one that I'm like, you're a fucking moron. Like, I won't. This Xavier Booker. Here's the thing. People will rightly point out that plus minus is as a measure is a flawed stat because it's
Correct.
You know, so dependent upon who else you were out there with. But when one person on the team has a positive and everyone else sits in the negative, it'd be fair to ask, well, it sure seems like they made a difference in the game. When that person plays 17 of 25 minutes and you are maintaining a lead and scoring points, it seems like they make a difference. The idea that somehow Mahdi on ball screens was a difference maker is insane to me, particularly when Ohio State's own coach said, you taking Xavier Booker out of the game made it easier for us. In the first 3 minutes, Xavier Booker blocked 2 shots and then disrupted at least a third. Graham Couch told us today on his podcast that he overheard AJ and Tyson talking after. You remember there was a time Jaden Akins went up for a layup and the ball was stripped away. And Xavier Booker caught it, right? And then immediately put it back up. Something that none of the other bigs could do. And that he overheard them talking about, we've been something effective. We've been seeing this, that what a difference Xavier Booker makes. The fact that at earlier points of the game, they were able to score and get penetration because you had a big man who could spread the floor matters. So this nonsense about ball screens, did he have defensive lapses? For sure. Yeah. Did he also do things that none of the other bigs can do, which is to say score, spread the floor, dribble, and block shots? Yeah, he did all of those things too. I don't know what Tom Izzo's watching, but he is easily, I trust Biden to give a speech more at this point in time than I trust Tom Izzo to see what Xavier Booker contributed in that game.
Wow.
Got him.
Wow.
Nailed him. Seething critique.
Seething critique.
Plum, what do you think?
No, I don't disagree with anything you said. If you have Booker out there, which we all agree he should have been,
at least some of it. He doesn't have to be all of it.
Fine, even some of it. I mean, some of those, yeah, you'll get some points. You probably do win the game, but for me, it doesn't change. It doesn't change everything because at the end of the day, you still have a senior captain and senior starters on this team who are just empty bags of skin with bone and muscle in them, but no heart. It's like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Oh no, that's the
and also
lion.
The Cowardly Lion.
Yeah, I think it's the Cowardly Lion.
Both. Yep. We can do both.
Yeah, no brain, no heart. I'm not going to take this metaphor any further, other than to say there's no leadership. But I guess that's the point maybe you're making. There's no leadership on the bench. There's no leadership in the practice room. There's no leadership in the locker room. There's no leadership on the court among any of the 5 active players at any single time. Izzo needs to fire all of his assistants. They're not contributing anything, whether in player development, rotation management, or any of the other things that one might expect an assistant coach at the NCAA Big Ten Division I level would do. This is a rotten program, and I just think it's a sad way for Tom Izzo's career to end. I don't care if they make the tournament. It's not going to be pleasant to watch. Hell, watching the Big Ten tournament is going to be painful. This program, they're just not. I don't think they care. I just don't think they care. I don't think they care.
And I think that actually extends to Tom Izzo to some amount. I think there's a degree to which he wanted to spite everyone and just have Mahdi out there at the end of the game instead of Xavier Booker, just to prove, actually, I've been right all along. Thank you very much. We need this in order to win. Yeah. And Tom, you didn't win. You didn't win. Getting back to your plus minus, Jonesy, dear friend and hero to us all, Andy H on Twitter, has a plus minus by lineup. Remember at the beginning of the year, Izzo was going to talk more about monitoring the advanced statistics per lineup. That was something that he said. And if you put just the 4 starters out there, Akins, Walker, Hogard, and Hall, and you just switch up Xavier Booker and Mahdi Sissoko, the plus minus on those 2 lineups, the 4 starters in Sissoko, -6. The 4 starters in Xavier Booker, +5. 11-point differential. Crazy. And that's not even counting the other lineups that Izzo trotted out there where it's truly who scores the ball right now. Not even like guys willing to take shots and miss them like Tyson Walker or Jaden Akins. Just like truly who scores the ball right now.
When you put Carson Cooper and Madi Sissoko out there, all you've done is now you've made it so AJ can't score because he can't drive the lane because you got two doofuses on the inside. Like, if Malik's in the game at that point in time, he can't work the block because you got two doofuses there on the inside. Like, I don't know. So, Plum, you talked about culture. So I want to do a little turn back the clock and head back in time for a second.
Very good.
Because we've talked here on this podcast about Milk Carton Gabe. Gabe Brown, where are you? So Gabe Brown, part of the 2018 recruiting class that included Thomas Kithier, Foster Lawyer, Aaron Henry, and Marcus Bingham. Now, Aaron Henry, we could say a lot of nice things about. Willed us to a tournament berth on a team that felt way more bubbly than this team should feel.
Indeed.
So, credit to Aaron Henry, but we all knew Aaron Henry also didn't have that sort of natural-born leader in him. He wasn't sort of the guy who was going to get into somebody. Marcus Bingham, no. Gabe Brown, no. Foster Lawyer didn't pan out. Thomas Kithier didn't pan out. So this starts in 2018. 2019, Rocket Watts, Malik Hall, Julius Marble. Two of those guys are gone. And Malik Hall, nice young man, but is too busy being mopey after a loss instead of being pissed about it. I'd say this generally about the team. I'm angrier than he is. I'm going to keep going for a second. 2020. Madi Sissoko. AJ Hogard. Not getting any better.
Nope.
One of those people doesn't seem like maybe the best teammate in the world, and the other one seems like the nicest person in the world, but not a good basketball player. Then it's Max Christie, Pierre Brooks, Jaden Akins. Again, where's the leadership? Where's anybody that identifies with anything? And through this all, MSU has moved from a physically imposing team to lithe. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like we're getting smaller? And then 22, Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, and then maybe we've got somebody in Trey Holloman. But like Trey's not stepping up right now because he's not an upperclassman. He's not starting. And by the way, all indications point to he's really looking forward to that role next year. Like, it's not just the talent issues. It's the personality issues. And it seems that it started in 2018 to me.
I will say it does seem like losing Jeremy Fears was bigger than just losing someone that spells AJ at the point guard spot. It's also losing somebody that pushes AJ. It's someone that's a threat. It's someone that's on the floor, pushing the culture of the program as we've known it as fans for our entire adult lives. We didn't just lose a guy that comes off the bench and plays 8 minutes a game. We lost potentially the heart of the program on the floor. And it would be nice if he could continue to provide that from the bench. But he's an 18-year-old on a team with 22-year-olds who are more interested in being at, the tin can or at whatever on any Thursday or Friday night. And that's fine.
After a loss.
After a loss. You know what? That's fine, right? But
is it? Because they're also professionals at this point in time.
Yeah. I think that is something that we need to talk about more often now. it's all very well and good that on Twitter we have this nice little like, we're going to call them by their number if we're going to critique them. But dudes, as we understand it, are getting paid. They're not getting paid NBA max contract money, but they're getting paid well for regular people.
Well, this is ultimately what the problem is. They don't. I mean, it's the same thing with the All-Star game, by the way. What was the score in the recent All-Star game? 600 to 544. Called 3 fouls. This isn't even real basketball. No. It's not even real basketball. It's because it used to matter. It doesn't matter. Everyone makes all the money. It's the same thing in college now. They make all the money. What's the point
but
in
other
winning?
programs try.
Some. So the difference is leadership. So maybe the other programs try, probably because their coaches are still breaking their feet off in their asses. Someone got to Tom Izzo and told him he couldn't coach the way he's coached for 30 years. That's the difference.
He conflated getting caught on TV with coaching.
This is it. And I don't know what you do. I guess you can ring that bell. And I don't know if it's partly COVID. I think it's that he's just, he's getting older and he's probably slowing down. But the energy that he would have had to fight this, to actually push for this, it's gone. And he ain't got it. And the team knows that. And they're not asking for it. And they desperately need it. But they need someone to kick their ass. Because they won't kick it themselves. And that's the ultimate sign of leadership failure. At least Cash knew how to kick ass. You had guys that could kick ass, either inspire it or threaten it or cajole it or do something. But it's a fucking train wreck right now. And it is sad. It's just sad to watch.
It's also probably time to bring back up the criticism of the coaching staff that Tom's put together, the retreads from all over the country, the sycophants that... Yep. He sent out,
fired for cause.
Yeah, correct. He sent out. They didn't succeed. They came back again. The prodigal sons are all back, and it's a very kind of Tom's not being pushed. Tom's not. Yep. There aren't external new ideas coming in. It's very in this way. It's unescapable that this resembles D'Antonio in his last years. He's just surrounding himself with his people that he wants to be around, and he's not at all interested in new, fresh ideas, fresh blood, any of that kind of stuff.
I mean, I guess the one thing I'll say is that I think unlike in football where we have a better sense of what assistant coaches do, we have a little less visibility into what these coaches do.
Sure.
And the efficiency numbers suggest good things.
Yeah, for once, we're a Ken Palm darling. Still up at 20 right now in the Ken Palm rankings.
Right. So I guess to me, that's part of the exercise of going through the recruiting classes, right? Is that it's a personality glitch. And to your point, fears... Yes, by every testimonial, will be an incredible leader here. Trey Holloman, I insist you can see it. That you can tell that dude next year is not going to abide by bullshit. You can see because it doesn't have to be all of them. It just needs to be a few of them. Mm-hmm. And so you can see the page turning, but there is something broken. I've made the Adderall joke about AJ too many times. And it's not a good joke to begin with, but it's also not funny anymore because it feels a little too close to true. And to me at this point in time, if you're a starting Big Ten, he sent out the tweet when he wasn't on the short list for best point guard about taking notes. And there's zero that he's done this year that suggests there's zero he clearly did in the offseason. He's gotten worse since last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to me, that's practice related shit.
Yep.
So I don't know.
It's also a problem right now that just basketball wise, going back from culture, It's a problem that Tyson Walker is clearly not Tyson Walker right now. This groin injury is nagging, and he's just not nearly as efficient as he was. The next problem, though, is that there's no one else to take those shots in crunch time. That's the point that I was trying to get at initially. This team folded in on itself, and it got too tight. It didn't have someone to bail them out because AJ Hoggard and Malik Hall don't have the nuts for it. Yep. So,
you know what we did see when Tyson was out sick, which this kind of combines the two things. Trey started in his place and played his gourd out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shot the ball, drove the ball, but to your point, that's not his role on this team. That's Tyson's role on this team, right? And there is an appropriate line between being like, I'm ready to lead, but it is not my job yet to lead.
Yep.
And so, but why would you take Tyson out? But here's, because I'm not done with this shit. Other coaching things. No one could make a shot, right? No one. But at no point in time did they adjust their strategy to try and get the ball inside. Because who can shoot inside is Malik. But they didn't do anything to shift the offense in his favor. They just kept shooting 3 after 3, jump shot after jump shot. And I think, did Malik only have 8 shots in this game? 9 shots. 5 for 9. 5 for 9. When the rest of your toys are broken, you had one player who was playing with some efficiency, and you didn't make a coaching adjustment.
Yeah.
Or you know what? You want to pin it on a player? Pin it on AJ then. That he didn't call the right stuff out. That he didn't make the right passes. I don't care. Blame it on somebody.
That's what I'm saying.
But at some point in time, Tom Izzo should have said in a timeout, "Hey, we're going to go to Malik. We're going to play through the block."
Yeah.
So
can we move on from this? I mean, or do you just want to talk about the program overall?
I think we did. I think we've talked about the program overall. I mean, there's really what else is there to say? We've got Purdue next week. We have the week off, more or less. So what? The team can circle jerk to watching themselves
maybe Tyson
just get
gets healthy,
obliterated at home. Maybe Tyson drinks some bleach. I don't fucking care. I mean, come on. Who cares if he's healthy? I mean, this is the point. And this is, I think, why I like watching us lose this week. This team should be able to survive at home against both Iowa and Ohio State without a healthy Tyson Walker. You are not going far in March if you can't beat these guys at home with Tyson playing at what he was playing at 20%, 25%. Less.
Plum, I like the point that you made about this team doesn't deserve to go to the tournament. I do wonder if what the program needs is to miss the tournament. Is just, there it is. There goes the streak. It's gone. What are you going to do now? It reminds me a lot of, remember in the teens where the Wings were clearly on the decline, but they still had that postseason streak. And then fans were always like, yeah, but we still got our postseason streak. Who cares that everyone else is winning cups and we're clearly on the wane? And you know what? It ended. It was rough for a while, but now things are going really well.
Back on the come up. Yep.
They're back on the come up. And I do wonder if this is a crutch. If the tournament streak is just a crutch that is a debasing of the program and what it used to be. It used to be the Final Four streak. Now it's the tournament streak. Who knows? Maybe next it's going to be winning conference season streak. But these all just seem to be like crutches that we create that are kind of impressive, but they're not the standard that Tom Izzo, when we were in the Izzone, told us that the standard was for this program.
Yep.
You can't lose these games like this and still be playing at the standard that we were told that the standard of this program was.
Yep.
And frankly, Jonesy, you're naming off all those dudes in the recruiting classes. You didn't name off their recruiting rankings. This is some of the best recruiting on paper that Tom Izzo's ever done. And again, these guys are getting paid. So something is broken right now with this team. And I think a bunch of things truly are broken right now with this team. Maybe they managed to get their way into the tournament. There's no reason to think now that this team gets to the second round. And hopefully
like
maybe next year it'll be better.
It feels like years now we've been talking about they're such nice boys. I'm a little sick of I'd prefer someone who's mean at this point in time.
I don't think AJ Hogarth's a nice boy.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was accepted.
He's both not a nice boy and also not a killer.
It's bizarre. He's just like a salty,
he's an 80s
sassy.
villain.
He's like a self-entitled little brat. I don't know. That's so personal, but I obviously don't know who he is.
Remember how we went at Pierre Brooks earlier this year? And it was just like...
And look who's having himself a season, by the way.
Much better season.
By the way.
Probably would like to have Pierre Brooks on this team, as it turns out. Interesting.
But, so, can we talk about Book and his... there was a lot of fretting heading into the Iowa game about, is he going to stay? Why isn't he playing? And then particularly after the Iowa game that ramped up and then was caught at practice. And it's all good. And then was asked after the Ohio State game about his playing time and did he think he was going to come back into the game? And he said, I did.
I was a little surprised. Surprised.
I played well, but also seemed to reiterate that he has trust and faith in the staff. It does seem like all the reporting suggests that he acknowledged his shortcomings earlier in the season. And we were on record, by the way. We talked routinely earlier in the year that he wasn't ready to play. It was very clear.
Yep.
I just don't know that you can look at what's happening now and suggest that he doesn't have contributions to make.
Well, he can't guard the ball screens, Michael. And Tom would rather lose guarding the ball screens.
Yep, guarding the ball screens. Yep. And really only kind of guarding the ball screens, because let's be clear.
Yeah, because at the same time, as well as you guarded them, you lost points. So
a better podcast. I wanted to go back and watch the first half of that game and just see how many possessions Ohio State ran ball screens. I didn't, because I didn't want to know a little bit too.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to know. I didn't want to see it.
When you found out the answer was 4 and you're like, God damn it. Fuck.
All right. I'm still angry. I thought I was going to feel better after our conversation.
Let's get the energy. We gotta ramp. We gotta ramp up. We gotta get out of this.
So angry.
We can't let Tom Izzo keep us down, you guys.
Is my favorite sport.
Yeah. And it is brutal.
He makes it hard to love him.
The Ken Palm COVID year national championship only takes you so far. It has been like a really brutal 4-year stretch.
You made a comment about Izzo leaving Mahdi in as see, I did it my way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's a little bit more basic than that. If it's a fuck you, I can do it however I want, and you can't stop me. Like,
I don't know if I ascribe that to Tom. I think he's addled. I think he's just given up. I don't think he cares, and I think he's
recruiting like he cares, though.
Yeah, well, but he's not coaching like he cares, and he certainly isn't defending the program when he gets in front of the microphones and the cameras like he cares. He trots with the same motherfucking excuse every goddamn week. What are you gonna blame the players? But you can't blame the players. It's a stupid shtick of folksy performativism where he's not taking any accountability whatsoever for the assholeish decisions he continues to make.
Yeah.
Yep. Coach, if you care, coach like you fucking care. Coach like you know how to coach.
And I appreciate that the media members have been asking around it, but and and there's not value in pissing Tom off in the middle of a press conference. What are you going to get out of it, right?
Nothing,
like your job is to get things from him. But I'm more curious about his Tuesday press conference at this point in time. That he's had time to digest some film, and does he own that he clearly wasn't watching the same game that literally everybody else, including their coach, watched?
Yeah. He will.
Should we talk about hockey?
Hockey.
They split with the OSU. They lost to Ohio State. Does that sound familiar? Did
was that an imminently winnable game against the worst team in the league?
Did their coach literally
a game on the
just
I think
get
that's also
executed
true.
in public by fucking useless dead AD? Yuck.
I hate it here. But gymnastics.
Well, but before we move on, they still have the opportunity to go on the road to Wisconsin and secure the regular season Big Ten championship. And they are
BTN
going to the
plus.
NCAA tournament. So,
Yeah,
BTN plus
the conference team.
Still better than the cock.
is it?
It's not.
Is
Yes.
it?
Marginally even, but yes, it is.
Is it?
Oh, fuck you.
Gymnastics. Back-to-back Big Ten champs.
Gymnastics spa.
God.
We're gymnastics
Honestly.
spa, baby.
What's that coach's name?
Dude.
Mike Rowe?
Guy. Him.
Dirty Jobs.
I don't know.
Sorry, Dirty Jobs. Mike Rowe.
Mike. Oh, really? Oh, you got there? That's how? The name is actually Mike Rowe?
The name's Mike Rowe. I knew that,
Oh, good
but
job.
then I tied it back.
And that's
to
but
Dirty
that's
Jobs,
how
yeah.
you got there. Yeah, well done you. All right, well, Mike Rowe, if you got a minute, stop over at the Tom Izzo football building, where Tom Izzo has a basketball office, and I don't know if that's true. And
I'd like to believe he has a second office.
I would too, in the building named after him, and ask him if he needs any help. Just maybe offer him some tips on what it means to coach anybody, women, men. You really, what you're doing is you're coaching champions, and Tom hasn't coached champions in the better part of a decade. So maybe this is your opportunity, Tom, to take a fucking lesson from a guy who knows what the hell he's doing. And actually get Jeff Hostler, the women's soccer coach, involved too here. We have champion coaches. Tom hasn't won a national championship in longer than a lot of our listeners have been alive. Let's square that for them real fast. Goo. So, boo.
Or even Robin Freilich, who's maximizing a roster right now.
Yeah. I think what Plum's saying is that he's this podcast's Hondo, and he thinks that Tom Izzo should be replaced by Mike Rowe, the women's gymnastics coach.
No,
because
I think
coaches are fungible assets, and you
That's
should
right.
just
Jeff
reassign them where
Jeff-
they belong.
wherever they go,
If you can dodge a wrench,
exactly-
you can dodge a ball.
you
if
can
you
dodge
coach,
a ball. Doesn't matter.
That's right.
You got it. You guys are smart. You always are able to draw these connections quickly.
But you know what? We should say in sincerity, because I feel like we took some shine off of it. It's a huge accomplishment by MSU gymnastics.
That is
Number 8 in the
back to
country.
back anything. Yeah.
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 And that used to be
backs to back.
the standard in basketball. And it is no longer.
Alas.
I feel like there was something else that happened, but it doesn't really matter. It'll come back.
It was also painful. How are we to remember?
All right, Mike, I got a question for you. Where are you going to be next Monday night?
Where am I gonna be?
You got the
next
whole
Monday?
planet. The
You
world
got
is
the
your oyster.
The world is your oyster. You could fly to Timbuktu if you wanted.
Well,
Could you?
I think I'm gonna be in Clear Lake.
Whoa.
I'm gonna be at Mama's Merc and Eatery
Wow.
on Clear Lake Road, and I might find a couple of my dear friends there.
Like who?
Who?
Whomstest, Michael?
Just amongst us. I think Grech is gonna. he's going to decide if he's going to take what's that road that comes down or 127. He's going to decide one of the two. He's going to take the country
Grass
road.
Lake Boulevard. You're thinking
That's right.
The old GLB.
the old GLB. He'll take the Grass Lake Boulevard right on down.
And
great.
Plum's going to come over from Ypsilanti. We're going to have some
Yes,
food.
there really is an Ypsilanti.
The Mama's Merc, which has now undergone a full name change. Alcohol on the menu. We're going to discover what that alcohol is. Can't wait.
Boone's Farm. Boone's Farm.
We should bring
coolers.
some Boone's Farm and be like, is it BYO if it's Boone's Farm?
If it's Boone's Farm.
And yeah, we're looking forward to having some food and drink at the Clear Lake Grill, formerly known as Clear Lake Grill, now Mama's Merc and Eatery. If listeners want to stop by Mama's Merc and Eatery at some point, mention Can't Read, Can't Write for 15% off of your bill. Truly, it's pretty good food. Check it out.
Show my money. You could even watch us eat from across the restaurant, but you have to sit at your own table quietly. Don't talk to us. We're very famous and
No eye contact.
important. No eye contact, please.
Yeah,
Respect our
sit
privacy.
on your hands, please, or keep them where we can see them.
For our safety.
Yeah. We also need to shout out our dear friend, listener, Mike Jones. I have today the Flying Ace Cinnamon because...
Oh, I made a commitment to our listenership that I was going to have some Flying Ace this week, didn't I? And yet here I am with an M43, the beer of my people.
Don't worry, we'll wait. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Nope.
We'll wait.
I failed our listenership. I failed us.
No, Plum and I can vamp. You can go ahead and get some.
That's all right. We'll do this next week. We'll do this next
I
week.
didn't
Tell
say
us more.
Well, I want to say, scat on my chest. Scat. No, too much. Hope you
On
can
my
edit that
chest,
out.
did you say?
I didn't say that. I don't know what you think you heard, but you are filthy and foul.
This
Listen,
is only the third Cleveland Steamer reference in podcast history, so continue.
as you take a pull of that, I, dear listener, can't drink. You can probably hear it in my voice. I've got the Tombra. It's probably the vestigials of a influenza A infection. So hoop-de-doo. But while I get better and I wheeze less in the future, we hope, I want to acknowledge listener Mike Jones, who dropped off a box of cordials, let's say.
Cordials.
A box of cordials, let's call them. Spirits. Spirits for your discerning palate. From a cordial and spirited friend, listener Mike Jones. He even said hello to Yali. She was outside behind the gate when he dropped off. Sent me a picture of her. And
listeners will be glad to know Yali's still alive, not been fed bleach yet. Nor only
kicked.
one urination on the rug so
only
far
one
for
on the
Yali
rug
is what we know.
for Yal, old Yal girl. And I was like, we're just interested, did she bark when you walked up the driveway? And she's just staring at you. And he's like, yeah, nope, didn't bark at all. She barks exclusively when someone rings the doorbell. That's it. Unfortunately, that's just not how most home intruders deign to enter. Yeah, the home.
And I gotta
The
tell you,
modus operandi of most
yes, it's
homes.
the doorbell.
taking this opportunity to give this information to whomever may listen
That's a
on
good
the
point.
internet.
Yeah.
This, I think,
Well,
really just sharp.
I don't know what the difference is going to be. Again, whether or not they're known to me or aren't known to me, no one is going to try to gain surreptitious access to my home by the doorbell.
Could
So
you
anyway,
just write your
Yowie,
address down
not-
and show it for the YouTube channel just so people...
I will. Yep. I'm going to do that. Yep. It's
All right.
Disappointing.
I'm seeing the timestamp here. Let's head off Grand River because we have a few things to chat about. First, sort of local interest.
Huh.
UMass is headed to the MAC.
Finally,
odd.
This is the conference realignment that we're all here for, that they're lining up for.
There's nothing about this that makes sense to me.
No.
I guess it's what you got to do.
Yeah. Where were they at? What conference? UMass?
Were they independent?
Or
USA,
AAC or something? Oh, Conference USA. That might be right.
Colonial?
Oh, the Colonial
Doesn't
Conference?
I don't know. Massachusetts.
Oh, no, they previously independent football. Yeah, they were previously
I
independent.
was right. Okay.
Oh, no. Or maybe they were Athletic 10. No one knows.
Nope. Yep.
Wow.
It's lost to history.
Good podcast.
Well, I mean,
Next.
USA Today says independent and Mass Live says A10. So good luck.
Maybe it depends on what sport. That sometimes happens.
They both refer to them football, so I hate it.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. We're gonna get the two other news pieces, sort of three news pieces out of the way here. Signing periods for football seem to be likely changing, moving up for early signing period to December 10th, and adding a summer signing period as a possibility, which in theory hopefully limits some of the chaos, or at least gives new hire coaches a bit. Well, actually, the earlier moving it up doesn't help them. Doesn't matter. It's not great. I don't like any of this. The early signing period's a shitty situation.
And BT Jordan's going to Ohio State. We remember him.
Analyst.
Yep. Defensive specialist, coaching analyst.
Yeah.
Definitely not recruiting. Just general guy.
Just around the place. Doing things.
I mean, we don't really know anything about this situation, right? It's just speculation that if you're going from the NFL back to college at this point,
you did
generally
bad.
accepted that is not an upgrade, especially for a role like this. General
Correct.
Assistant to the regional coach at Ohio State.
Fuck.
I don't know how things are going with his little, his camps that he still runs, but I don't like it. I don't
We
like
should check
it.
in with his camp about his camps.
We should do that. We should do that.
Yeah.
College football playoff committee looks like we've got some changing happening on the model.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a 6-6 with the 5 Power Fives and plus the highest ranked group of 5 conference champion and 6 at-large bids, it's going to be 5. That is to say the Power 4, because the Pac-12 is dead, and then 1 group of 5 champion.
I can't believe you would say that, Michael. I can't believe you would say that about a conference.
It's painful.
Proud
to
of
Sorry.
you.
I'm sorry to Jonathan Smith and your alma mater. I really am sorry.
There it is.
So of note, this probably favors the Big Ten more.
Yeah.
Because that's an opportunity for an additional team to get in. Court storming is next on our list.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Grech.
Let's talk about this. So, for those that aren't aware, this week, the Deacons of Wake Forest doth defeated the Devils of Duke.
Blue.
And in so doing, rushed the court. Actually, they didn't even wait for the buzzer to go off. The fans were already pouring onto the court before the game was even over. So there's a hefty fine coming your way, Wake Forest. Enjoy. But in all of this, some of the Wake Forest faithful did run into one of Duke's better players. One
They run
Kyle
into him, or
Flikowski.
did he run into that? Flipowski? Flipowski.
It's Flipowski. Yeah, I had it right, but who cares what it is? I don't want to
heard it
pay
both
him
ways.
the respect. I don't want to pay him the respect of actually pronouncing his name. And he twisted his ankle. Now there are multiple, just like the JFK assassination. There are multiple views of this. And we can see walking across the grassy lawn that from the top view that
the Zapruder angle.
Indeed, Kyle just sort of decided he was going to walk his own way, which I guess you can make the argument he's allowed to do. He's supposed to be on the hardwood.
Sure.
And certain members of the student section kind of ran past him and through him, and he kind of like initiated contact, or certainly didn't avoid contact, and twisted his little ankle.
Or knee.
And then a lot of people got upset about this. Yeah. And then you add this with the Caitlin Clark thing with Ohio State, when all 4 of the students at Ohio State
didn't seem to avoid contact.
Again, also. And they both have injuries. Now, there's been a lot of discussion this week as a result of this, where I think we can, as a podcast, acknowledge that it is true that if in college basketball, storming the court was not already a thing that's done, a tradition, it would probably be really hard to start up. It's hard to justify a court storming. It's a bunch of people rushing onto a surface where they don't belong. It's not done in any other sport. And if it was invented today, it would get shut down immediately. But the fact of the matter is, court storming has happened for decades in college basketball. And now student athletes
in the NBA
are
in 1988, by the way.
So there you go. It's happened in basketball generally. And there's a lot of talking heads saying now is the time to shut it down forever. Draw a hard line, including Jay Billis, who...
Can we just add real quick? One of the most storied plays in all of college football is Stanford UCLA, right? Or Stanford Cal,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
where
the band is on the field.
Band is on the field. Like,
yeah.
This has gone on for a long time. Sorry.
Right. And a lot of the talking heads, particularly the boomery talking heads and the ones that are less fun, that seem to be most interested in taking joy out of the game and life generally. Sorry, Jay. Truly,
are we sure he's not a vampire?
Enjoy. He does kind of have that look about him. I've always truly liked Jay Billis. I like watching games that he commentates. I almost wish that we were on ESPN so we'd have more of them, but we just don't anymore. But this week he was like, it shouldn't exist. This shouldn't be allowed to happen. And the fix for this is to actually just arrest everyone that goes on the court, which I thought was like just the boomeriest take of all boomer takes. So I'm of 2 minds on this. One, it is true that the fans don't belong there. It is an athletic event and it is dangerous. But the other side is like, it's the core of the game. It makes it fun. It's like congeniality. It's students. It's excitement. It's,
joy.
It's joy. It's David beating Goliath. It doesn't just happen in college. It also happens in high school. No one's talking about banning it in high school. Now, I know that
we just also know where Jay Billis went to school? Can we know where Jay Billis went to school?
True. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt on this because I think he also had this
This has been going on for decades, and now he pipes up.
But I think he also had stuff like this to say when the Caitlin Clark situation happened. But I got to tell you, I think these student athletes could just stand there and let people rush around them. Like, you don't have to initiate contact. You don't have to be like, I'm walking in this direction. I don't care what happens. You could make the argument that he stuck a foot out trying to trip some Wake Forest students. Now, there was another Wake Forest student that sort of like shoved him from behind, and that is not acceptable under any circumstances.
Right.
You got to disavow that.
But
and that
neither
kid
is him
probably
tripping and pushing.
Right. But this whole thing of like these athletes being like, I'm going to do what I was going to do anyway, and then whatever happens, I become just sort of a victim of it. I don't know that I'm that sympathetic to them either. It seems like the easiest thing that you could do is just stand there and let the throngs of students go past you and then wade through the crowd, just like you would at a music venue, just like you would in a crowded building, just like any other. Like, it seems like these two injuries, these two high profile injuries, did not need to happen in any way, but the athletes that were injured chose for them to happen. That's just my take.
Also, to be clear, to your point about waiting, Kalafilpowski is 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think security's going to have a problem finding him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people can come to you and get you out.
Yep.
Now, at the same time, you can't be rushing out with time still on the clock. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It does seem like these universities could hold people for all of like 5 seconds to get the other team at least up to the scorer's table and not on the middle of the court. But the idea that you have to just remove one of the like few remaining expressions of actual
excitement,
like excitement and like the core of the game and what makes college basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To be clear, though, you know who doesn't rush the court any longer?
Well,
Us.
Coach K told us that we were supposed to be above that. So listeners of the podcast might not know this storyline. Plum, do you remember this whole thing
I don't
from back when we were in school?
I don't think so.
So when we were in school, we beat a Wisconsin team that we were not meant to beat. And the Izzo rushed the court. It's the only time that I can remember that this happened. And there was a debate that week on ESPN. Again, people that want to take joy away from everything. The debate is MSU too big a program to rush the court? And they asked Coach K about this. And Coach K said, I would hope that our students would know better than to do something like that. And I love
that. I love that.
You are just
so
dead inside, aren't you, Coach K?
An absolute Nosferatu.
Truly dead inside.
In the flesh.
And then, but weirdly, we need to all hit up our therapists and deal with the fact that apparently we ingested that.
Yeah.
And then stopped because Coach K said,
it. Yep. 100%.
There's some trauma there to unpack. We have one other piece that we need to talk about off Grand River. A Tennessee federal court issued a preliminary injunction this week preventing the NCAA from enforcing any of its NIL rules nationwide or any other bylaw that might allow it to enforce its NIL rules nationwide, effectively allowing college athletes to contract with anybody for anything under any circumstances, which, to be very clear, includes the universities themselves. So the universities under this ruling are more than capable of compensating college athletes for their name, image, and likeness. Yep. You take this ruling in conjunction with the NLRB rulings as it relates to employment status and union status, we are moving at warp speed in an entirely different direction than the college athletics that we all knew. And I mean, we intimated about the amount of money that the student athletes are currently making earlier in this podcast, but this is about as big a ruling as could be made.
Yeah.
This is bigger than the transfer whenever you want ruling. This is and I think this phrase has some stigma, and I don't mean it that way per se, but this is about as big of a pay for play endorsement as you could get. We were talking, Grech, before we started recording about what this might mean in terms of the distribution of talent, Does the fact that small schools have billionaire donors, does this actually maybe in some ways enable small schools to achieve parity? We saw St. John's has a billionaire donor that's contributing 7 figures to their basketball team next year,
right,
for the roster. And meanwhile, like EA Sports is releasing their game, and they're like, we'll give you $600 and a copy of the game. Like, and that's a big enough brand that people are like, yeah, I'll take that, right?
I'll
like,
try it. Yeah.
I don't know. This feels
we're in the game, by the way. They asked us to do guest commentating just for MSU games. So we've got Plum catchphrases in the game. Plum, what are your NCAA football catchphrases that you got?
Fuck the dog.
Oh, fuck. Right in the ass. I don't know. That's just unclever. Fuck the dog.
It's dereliction of duty, and more to the point.
I am appalled.
I don't. This is. I don't know. This to me feels different, and one of the things that's a bit of a challenge, though, is that in pro sports there's a limited talent supply, right? And anyone who wants to enter pro sports has to agree to abide by the rules of how you get to be in pro sports, which is to say, you say, I would like to be drafted, and then you have to go to the team that drafted you. That's the way it works. But that's not how it works in collegiate athletics.
Not at all.
There is no draft. So it'll be really interesting to see how this, in the long run, pans out because what did you say, Grech? There was someone who was making the comment that, like, just make them employees, and this'll
also Jay Bills.
Oh, yeah. So Jay's like, just make them employees.
This week's episode could be called Boomer Takes with Jay Billis in absentia.
But as you pointed out, if you make them just employees, that doesn't stop the NIL.
Right.
So whoever has the donors who are willing to contribute will still be able to offer more.
Yeah.
Unless the conditions of your employment prevent you from taking sponsorship agreements. Which I suppose
do you think that's
the
a genie
conferences
that's going to get put back inside the bottle?
Yeah,
at this
squeezed
point?
right back in there.
Doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to... For folks who think that people are going to stop watching, though, I don't know that that's going to happen to me.
It might happen eventually, though. It's the
Playing like
out.
this, it sure fucking will.
It's all about the hollowing out of what makes this sport appealing. And it's being mortgaged by these universities and these television contracts. And we're getting further and further away from what makes the three of us, I think, have interest in watching these games.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do a quick Purdue preview. And then I have a quick Purdue preview question for the both of you to make this segment mildly more interesting.
Great. Because I have almost nothing to make it more interesting. Purdue, Ken Palm, number 2 on offense, number 21 on defense. They're a really good team. Zach Edey, this is astonishing. You should, dear listener, this is a chart. Maybe we'll tweet it out afterwards. Some of the efficiency and usage stats for Zach Edey in his 3 relevant years at Purdue are just unparalleled in Big Ten history. They're crazy. Just how efficient and how highly utilized he is. And they're really good, and we don't stand a chance. So go ahead. No. Oh, wow. Michael Jones here on the YouTube sharing screens. That's not what I was talking about, but
that's the link you provided.
But sharing some statistics with us. So truly, listeners on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, go to your YouTube and scrub forward to the whatever this is mark and look at a chart. A chart that we took from the internet. Thank you, Bart. What's your trivia, Jonesy?
It's not trivia. It's a question. Zach Edey.
Zach Edey,
best player in college basketball. What's MSU's answer for him? And so, you can say Madi, probably strongest big we have.
And can defend ball screens, I heard.
You can defend ball screens. Booker spreads the floor. So Zach Edey plays a lot of Shaq coverage. Like maybe you get him out on the perimeter. That could be a good thing. I guess there's Carson Cooper, who's a person. Do you have an answer to this?
Who's alive? I have an answer for this. Carson Cooper, who can't really do anything, to your point, is a person, could do one thing. He could be purchased round-trip airfare to Oregon. Small little town in Oregon, where he is going to go to the home of one Jeff Gillooly.
I knew where this is
and
going.
he is going to learn how to wield a tire iron, how to conceal it in his basketball jersey, and what point on the kneecap he is to...
Is that a tire iron or a Fanatics jersey? Who's to say?
Who's to say? And where he is to strike said tire iron. And that's it. And then Carson Cooper will have offered something of real value to this program for the first time in his life, and in a way that could actually portend success for us. It won't, of course, we'll still lose, because as we've seen, anytime a team's best player is out, even at home, we can still fuck the dog on the game. So
yeah, just
we'll
means
still lose
Fletcher
to
Lawyer will go Super Saiyan on us. Go like 12 for 12 from 3.
Hundo P.
Grech, who you got?
Yep.
I got Purdue by approximately infinity points.
Who you putting on Edey?
I've got, you know what? Just put Stevie Izzo on him.
Yeah.
Test his metal.
That's good.
It's the same really diff, as the kids do say. And
they do say it.
I believe that's what they say.
I think that's right.
Should we hit these Twitter questions, you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
First up, from the Mike Jones with his, what was it, Plum? What did he drop off for you? Some
cordials. Box of cordials.
Cordials.
Box of cordials.
Mike Jones has 2 cordials for us today, the whole listenership. First, had a friend move back into town recently, took him to his second MSU basketball game Tuesday. He's now 0 for 2. His first loss was versus number 1 Indiana in 2013. Should said friend now just be on the do not ask list, or do I attempt to take him to a shitty non-conference game before banning him?
Yeah, give him one shitty non-con. Maybe take him onto an aircraft carrier. Although don't, because we always lose those, so that'll be a for sure no.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is you're setting up for a real Wright State situation or a real James Madison situation. I think Mike Jones will write this guy off. Next up from Mike Jones to the other Mike Jones. If the 3 of you were on the floor at the end of the game and the home fans were getting ready to storm the court, why would Plum be the one to attempt to trip someone and have it backfire on him?
So good.
I don't think. See, I got to debate the contention of this, because I think Plum would have called up Jeff and had him go through that front row, just hitting knees. Everyone behind would have been delayed as a result of those people crippled over in fear, doubled over in pain. Would have been not good.
It would.
You know what?
Actually, I'm not ready to move on from this. Plum, if we were on the court with Jonesy and the opposing team came on to the court,
little 3-on-3 action.
Can you imagine how scared we would be losing Michael out there in that sea of bodies?
That melee.
It would just be the two of us would be like, "Where is he? Can you see him?" And you'd be like,
"Michael,
I don't see him. I can't find him." And we'd be like, "Michael, answer us."
I wouldn't be on the court. Like all good referees, and you've seen this anytime the basketball game is done, those referees run faster than they've run all game off of that court. It is, I mean, truly, it's the one reason I could never be a basketball referee. Those guys get off the court, they're like hunched over and sprinting. They debase themselves. The abject terror, it is cowardly. They literally embody cowardice to get off that court. I don't know how, with straight faces, these guys can operate because they just look absolutely.
It should be sort of a leisurely cowboy stroll, sort of crotch out, just like I'll get off the court when I want to get off the court.
What do they have to fear? They just called a game where the home team won. They have nothing to fear. What's your whole thing?
But this is game after game. Yucky.
Next up, JD. What would you have said in the summer of 2023 if someone told you guys that we'd start the 2024-2025 sports year with new head coaches in both football and basketball?
Does JD know something we don't? Because I don't think this is going to happen. But I would have said, unlikely, JD.
I think JD does express some of the frustration and sentiment of the fan base, though.
Oh, yes.
Next up, Kate Wall, who says, you already know my question. So, gentlemen,
and you already know our answer.
I ask you, per Kate, who do you think, if Mount Rushmore was redone today, would be on Mount Rushmore? That's what she's asking,
Hall's vapid, useless expression 4 times.
Kate, I don't want to turn you on to another podcast, but Matt Sheehan over at Locked On Spartans did have Robbie Hummel on, who was asked what doesn't make sense about MSU. And he said, literally the first thing he said is, I don't understand Malik Hall.
Yeah.
That was his first response. Robbie Hummel.
I do, Plum, want to go back to your point, because if I were an artist, and I am not a skilled artist, but I had to chisel someone's visage out of like granite or quartz, I would be so thankful to have that blank stare of Malik Hall, so that I'd be like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do like an actual
nothing,
like human emotion or expression. Okay, it can just be nose, eyes, mouth. Okay, thank God.
Whew. I maintain that there's something happening with his family, and I think it's probably very sad, and I think that he is not playing at his best, and that
actually is very true.
I mean, we do know that that's true, actually, so thank you for bringing that up and reminding all of us.
Well, it's true, but I still think the responsibility is on him to then step back and withdraw yourself. Do what you need to do to take care of your family and yourself. You're doing yourself and this team no favors. How dare you?
Next up, Munfield Keg. People have fought back against the Izzo D'Antonio keeping your friends around and not changing comparisons. But it feels eerily similar with every game. Would things have ended differently if D'Antonio had replaced Warner? Are we reaching that time now with Izzo and his offense?
Kind of already discussed this. I think Izzo or D'Antonio needed to replace more than just Warner.
Bowman.
I think there was a lot more to be done there. But Bowman. I think Tom Izzo, and we've said this on the podcast before, I think Tom Izzo thinks he'd be losing a lot and he'd be giving up a lot by bringing in outsiders because he's just so stuck in his ways. And I think he'd be surprised how much it could liberate him and open things up actually for him in the long run. But he's unwilling to do it.
Tom needs a therapist. Next up, Elon Bloom. Did Dwayne Stevens' departure lead to the current big man problem? No.
I don't know. Has Tom ever? I don't know. I think Dwayne Stevens could talk to Tom. I think Tom was a little intimidated probably by Dwayne in some ways, and I think that's a good thing. As far as Tom is intimidated by anybody, you would see Dwayne. Dwayne was able to talk to Tom in a way that his assistants clearly cannot now. I don't know if that's a big man issue as much as Dwayne was at least respected. Maybe intimidated is the wrong word. I think he was respected by Tom. I don't think Tom respects the guys that he's got around him. Fuck, Tom doesn't respect himself right now, nor should he. But his departure certainly has hastened the issue. But the main issue is Tom. This is the issue.
Is it weird, while we're on the topic, that he's got all these retreads who are failures, and then the people, though, before, this isn't a comment on where the program is, but is it weird the people before were all people who had trouble getting jobs? Dwayne Stevens didn't get a job forever.
Well, he also turned down a few, is my understanding.
Sure. But, and then, who's why can't I remember the blonde dude who Googled, or who would routinely search his name on Twitter? Sometimes comments on
Dane
games.
Fife?
Yeah, Dane.
Dane Fife, yeah.
Left for Indiana.
Ill-advised.
A lateral role, like, I don't know. And that staff was together forever.
Yeah. Just
odd.
Elon Bloom, I would also point out, I think Xavier Tillman does a lot of sanding over the rough edges of the bigs in MSU history. Yeah. I think we all remember Xavier Tillman so fondly that we sort of have rosy colored glasses for everything else. Yeah. Next up from Beth Amaro, is it possible either Jay Johnson, Scotty Hazelton, or Ross Ells kidnapped Tom Izzo and is calling the shots for these games in disguise? Should someone do a welfare check at the Izzo home? Or is it even worse and maybe we need an exorcism? Maybe things aren't what they seem. Plum.
Yeah, that's right. I think Beth's onto something here. There is something's happened. And, you know, Beth, we don't talk a lot about this on the pod. We should more. This podcast, we are pretty firm adherents of the lizard person theory. And I think it's fair for us, I think, to out ourselves now and say we're fairly convinced that Tom Izzo has been, his corpulence has been liquefied and consumed by lizard people, and they have now dressed up in his skin. And lizard people don't know anything about basketball. And that's the first thing you learn when you're indoctrinated into the lizard
That's
person.
the first thing everyone knows about lizard people.
Yeah. They can't play basketball. They're okay at football, but they don't understand it.
Absorb the surveyor, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. Anyway, yeah, good point, Beth. Thanks. And by the way, we'll talk to you later on 4chan in the discussion section. Is that a thing?
Next up, Sparks Levante asks, years ago at Big Ten tourney at a Big Ten tourney pep rally Q&A session with Tom Izzo, someone asked, quote, "Hey coach, why does Bo Ryan suck so much?" The question was met with some awkward muffled laughter from the crowd and a stunned silence from Izzo. If you were tasked with trying to create that reaction, what question would you ask? Rooch.
Hey, coach, why does Mady Sissoko suck so much? I mean,
that's, yeah. Or what about like, hey, coach, why does 2024 Tom Izzo suck so much?
Or,
you know? Or
maybe, Tom, have you ever noticed a bigger difference between the quality of person and the quality of basketball play than with Mady Sissoko?
Or, hey, coach, why didn't Fran McCaffrey get even a little bit upset in East Lansing last week?
Hey, coach.
That was concerning.
Why do you hate us? Things like that.
Hey, coach, do you still want to coach? Do you need cataract surgery?
Interesting thing about this, about his unwillingness to say anything mean about Bo Ryan. Back when we were in the zone, he didn't mince words about Coach K.
It's true.
But he hated Bo Ryan.
Yeah, that's also true. I do remember that too. Yeah. Next up from Carl, you do too much, bro. Would Fran be an arguable upgrade? Ooh, despite the fact that he's perpetually some sort of viney chode that's been hedged in purple, he can offer other rational lineups based on data, and his bigs can generally catch and score. Anyway, gonna drink myself to death. Happy Sunday, fellas.
Cheers,
I gotta say to Carl is is a wordsmith. Carl is a
paint a
fucking
picture.
wordsmith. And I gotta say, I am impressed. And I got into U of M.
Dark purple.
Edged to dark fucking purple. But he was on there today too, and on Twitter, and I can't remember what the tweet was. I'm not even going to get the context, but it was impressive, and I almost sent it to you both, and I should have. Anyway, that's
there
all
was
I'm gonna say.
there was a tweet that got pulled out by our Twitter account that I'm surprised you didn't respond to.
I don't
because
remember.
someone insisted that that no one was accepted. That's EX accepted.
Oh, I did see that. Yes,
to both schools would ever choose, and I thought, you know who would tell you first.
You heard it here first.
Well, first he would tell you about the honors college. That's first.
I lived on the honors floor. Yeah, 30 North.
Yeah.
Good job, me.
Next up, Nate C. Does Izzo get tired of us and quit after the season? Maybe just go play golf with Saban someplace warm.
Izzo's going on TV. If he ever quit, he would be going on TV.
Yeah, that's probably right.
I think he's still too in love with Fears.
To see, yeah.
Next question from Nate C. Do you think they should accept the NIT invitation or just set out the postseason? What do you want them to do? I can't even think about this right now. I understand where Nate C. is coming from. I think it's a great question. Yeah. I want them to accept it. I want them to sit in it. I want them to it's like a plum. It's like Yali peas on the carpet. You got to put her snout in it before you make her guzzle bleach. They deserve it. And finally from Nate C, what do you think is worse? Having each hair on your asshole plucked out by one while you hold in the runs, or this MSU basketball team?
Hold on, you're going to read that again. Having each hair on your asshole plucked out one by one while you try to hold in the runs. That's really rich. That's another one.
Carl, you do too much, bro. I found your burner.
Yeah, challenge accepted here. That sounds pretty horrible. And it is MSU basketball is worse. For sure, watching these games is worse.
Next up, Kurt Wisniewski. Over under how many fireball shots pre-game will it take to watch another MSU basketball game? Well, Kurt, Flying Ace, cinnamon whiskey. It's better.
There it is.
Good plug. Good plug.
I got mine in the mail.
Advertisers,
dropped off today.
We could do some live reads if you came our way.
FYI.
Mm-hmm. Next up from Kurt, MSU coach, make your mouth like a donut moment. Not playing Booker the last 15 minutes due to defense? Question mark.
Also, Kurt, 2.5 is my over under on fireball shots.
What is, I don't know, do MSU coach make your mouth like a donut moment? What does it mean?
It's like,
oh, okay. Noted. All right.
Yeah.
Noted.
The thing is, Kurt,
I mean, we elicit everything.
Here's the thing, though, is that, like, due to defense, his defense, I can't watch them actively lose at the end of the game because Mady Sissoko is in there, and anyone tell me that his defense is the reason that things were okay. Also, what did Booker log here?
You have to understand, Jonesy, that there's such a thing as a extra loss, a double loss, a double loss.
Double loss.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a hockey system. You can get 2 points for. I see. We got 1 point. We clearly got 1 point in this game.
Yep. You always forget about the double loss. You do. You do. Next up from the Jer Bear, can we force a head coach to read Twitter?
You know he has a burner, right? He's got to have a burner.
I think he's aware of what is said, of what's going on out there. Yeah. I think he is too proud to not be aware of it, to have at least a finger on the pulse. Next up from J Bear Plum, more disappointing, the Malik Hall apology request or AJ Hoggard Kuzi Award Revenge. Kuzi Award Revenge Tour.
That's the notes tweet after he was not on the preseason list.
Oh yeah, nothing more cringe than AJ Hoggard thinking he deserves anything in life other than a Jeff Gillooly special. I don't know, man. I really don't know. This is a tough one because there's a lot of people who out there. I mean, I guess what I would say about. We love Kate. Kate.
Of course,
we love you, Kate.
Of course.
Shoot, but other than Kate, there's a lot of. What I'll say about Malik Hall is I think he's probably generally a very good dude, and I think one can understand the desire to speak hope. I mean, I think that's what people are doing. Apologize to Malik Hall because if we speak enough hope and positive energy into the universe, it will surround Malik in this trying times that he has, and he'll achieve his greatness that awaits him.
And if AJ and Tyson were different, we don't need Malik to be more than what he currently is.
Well, it's true. But frankly, AJ's, I don't think, a likable guy. And I think that's the difference for me. And he told you he wasn't likable with the sort of like, yeah, okay, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes. Like, why? They already had the proof, and you're just living into it.
Yep.
So, what a Goomba. Bye-bye.
I think it was the Kuzi board that was taking notes the whole time, as it turned out.
Yeah, turns out.
Next up, Raymond Chains. When newlywed listener guest Alex Plum is absent from the show, should we assume he has a groin injury?
Oh, wow. Yeah, go ahead and assume that.
Eyebrow move up and down.
Go ahead and assume that, Raymond. Go ahead and just... And while you're assuming it, could you send that tweet to my husband?
Next up from Raymond Chains, do NIL deals benefit assistants and lesser-known staff at all? No.
Do any of them deserve it, Raymond, even if it did?
Yeah, truly, that's the better question.
Question, Kevin.
Yeah.
Who deserves it more? Wojcik? Madi Sissoko?
Oh, my God. Mamopoly. Take notes. This is a real Sophie's choice.
Yeah,
my God.
Oh, my God.
Just burn that money. I don't even want to give Monty the satisfaction of donating it. That's how upset with him I am right now. So
sorry, Marty. Your village deserves. Okay, I can't even finish it. I can't even say it out loud. I can't even say it out loud.
Plum wasn't capable of saying the remainder of that.
I couldn't say it out loud.
This is truly a just take that money and light it on fire in front of them. And just be like,
next up,
look at this. You did this. Look
you
what
did
you
this.
did.
Yep.
Rub their face
snouts
in
it.
In the fire.
Yeah,
and then have them drink bleach. Next up.
Yeah.
Next up from Raymond Chains. Should Madi Sissoko enter the portal and transfer to Ferris State, where he will average 8 points and 5 rebounds per game? Money will get an NIL deal from the local sports bar, entitling him to a sweatshirt and weekly burger with tots. Do you think Madi Sissoko would have benefited in some ways from actually starting? Maybe he doesn't finish there, but starting at a lower level.
Could be. We'll never know.
Like if he had gone to the MAC. Like maybe he works on his fundamentals a little bit better.
Madi's had opportunities his entire career. Like truly. It's not for lack of opportunity. So I don't think. I think this is the Madi Sissoko that you were going to get one way or another.
One way or another is right. Yeah. I think this is proof that like Tom cannot recruit to the 5. Don't try to recruit out of high school to the 5. You need to pull your 5s directly out of the transfer portal where they've been able to get some development from some actual center coach somewhere. It's not going to be you. You just got to figure out how to slot them into your rotation. And how we're the ones telling you that is truly fucking just God help us. My God.
Next up from Andy, why do we do this to ourselves?
Yeah, that's the other
I think
question.
this is the question, but it's because we love our school.
And hate ourselves.
Is that a question?
We do this. We do what you do, and then we choose to come relive it later on.
And then you
together.
choose to come relive it with us. It's really not
wild.
healthy. None of this is healthy. None of what we're doing is healthy.
Well,
We should probably.
But if you could smash that subscribe button,
Yeah.
smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, the most important thing, Andy, in all of this is that we don't learn any lessons. We don't improve. We don't do better.
Yep.
Let's let this thing just keep on rolling. Next up from the search, are you guys ready for a second season of Me? Plum, do you think you get invited to this one?
I wonder if I'll get invited to this one. What are we searching for? Is it a replacement to Tom Izzo?
Yeah, I think that's the implication here.
I'm very, very dense. Very dense. Not whatever the opposite of dense is. Not that.
Yeah.
Quick on the uptake.
What
Nope.
is the what is the opposite of?
Yeah, we're talking about in
like,
terms of like matter, density.
Yeah, no, truly, what
Yeah.
is?
Well, density is
Gas?
just a measure.
Gaseous?
That's a
Gaseousness?
Gaseous?
I think
Is
that's
it,
a physical change.
Diffuseness?
All right, listeners,
Diffusity?
listeners, watchers, if you can put in the comments what the opposite of density is,
Yeah, that'd be good.
That would be great. It'd be great for metrics too. Anyway, next up from Adam DeLay, what are the hockey Big Ten winning scenarios? I'm too lazy to figure it out for myself. Well, we
Kevin
win.
Grech?
I think that's one.
Yeah.
Sparseness,
Wisconsin.
apparently, is the opposite of density.
We don't. It's for
Sparseness.
comments.
They already commented. We already got the interactions.
Dense and sparse. Interesting.
So sorry,
Makes sense.
Adam DeLay, Big Ten hockey winning scenarios. Just go win. Just go win. Take
Just
it.
gotta win. Win
Take
them all.
it!
We split.
Gotta win them all.
It's good.
You
What
split
about
it,
loss
it's
in the
good.
tie?
If you
Does loss in the tie do it for us?
No,
gotta win.
I don't think that does it. No.
gotta win.
So you gotta win.
To
Go,
win.
go,
Gotta
go win.
Win.
Next up, Pepe Plum. The man that had his... I hate this. The man that had his testicles removed and kept it in his ex-boyfriend's fridge was from Pontiac. I lived there shortly, and so did 3-10 Olivet coach Ernest Watson. Dr. Kevorkian was alive to watch, even though he went to Pontiac Central. That's history in a nutshell. Now you know. Did you all live in the same house?
Yeah, I got big questions.
Are you one of these people? This is a Beppe. You know we love you, but this is Mama Leaf level. It's
good.
among your worst work.
It's a next up,
Next
from
up.
Beppe, rant of the week, parking. Employees taking up all the close spots, then people dining in park in the pickup spots. So I have to park at Chipotle just to get my pickup, which makes people that want mediocre burritos park at the urgent care, which makes people with a rash on their elbow die. That's good. But then he redeems himself, you know?
Should have just done the one question, Beppe.
Yeah, just choose the rant next time.
I love the visual of people with rashes on their elbows just expiring in the parking lot. Just sort of trying to claw their way towards the urgent care, but they don't make it. There's just a pile of them.
Yeah. People like with their burritos stepping over them as they get into their waiting.
And they're like,
Electric
deliciously
vehicles.
mediocre burrito. Let's go.
That's it.
Next up, Mamopoleaf, interviewed by Doug
Traboo.
T. No,
Doug
that feels
Traboo.
Canadian. Doug T on Michigan radio. John J.U. Bacon said that MSU is a good team, but not a great team, and is missing intensity, but makes the tournament for number 26. He's just trying to curse us. He also said that Caitlin Clark has an uncommon intensity. So would having her on the team solve all of Izzo's problems? I'm going to vote yes on this, actually. Caitlin Clark has
tall.
more of the dog in her than anybody on this team does.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, there's no
I don't
doubt.
think that's a very high standard. I think there's like approximately half the human population has more dog in it than anyone
Correct.
on this team.
But she's an
Save
elite
for-
competitor.
Well, of course she
competitor.
is. She would be transformative for any program, though, including Purdue. I mean, my God. Like, so it's not, I mean, yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
a self-evident question.
I would take Caitlin Clark on this team for sure.
Over any player. If you're like, but you have to get rid of Tyson Walker. Fine. Bye.
Also, my
Honestly,
God, this commentary is
taller
what
than
it
him?
takes to get you on Michigan radio. Come on.
Is she
Michigan
taller
radio.
than
John Ubacon is on Detroit, Michigan Public Radio. Now it's called, Susan, it's not called Michigan Radio anymore. It's called
That's right.
Michigan Public. They changed the name, Susan. Come on.
Also, she's
Anyway.
the same height as Tyson Walker. Take her.
Untrue, probably. But no, well, because Tyson Walker's height is inflated on those things, and hers
That's my
probably.
that's
if anything,
my point.
all right. Well done, you.
Like, I mean,
Would Tom Izzo
she's listed
allow,
at 6 foot. He's listed at 6 foot.
Would
Yeah,
Tom
so
Izzo
she's
allow the
definitely
Caitlin Clark signature logo threes? Or would he be like, you're not doing that? That's not happening.
But you know what she would say? She'd poke him in the eye. She'd be like, "Fuck you, asshole," and then she'd do whatever the hell she wanted. So,
And then he'd be like, actually, I'm benching you because you can't defend ball screens.
shit, that's also true.
I hate.
That's nice.
Like,
All right. Last up from Momopoly. Does Caitlin Clark break Lynette Woodard's 3,649 and Pete Maravich's 3,667 point records? And if so, when and what does the venue do to recognize the accomplishment in real time? And how long is too long of a celebration during a game? Guessing it won't be long enough. Go, Caitlin.
Wow. Real Caitlin stan over here from Momopoly all of a sudden. Did Momopoly just find out who Caitlin Clark is like this week?
Feels like maybe she's going to find out about Beyonce and it's going to blow her mind.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I think it's fair to like. Caitlin Clark is incredible. She's wonderful for the game of basketball.
Yes.
She's wonderful for women's basketball in particular, but also wonderful for the game of basketball at large. It's also fair to say that what Pete Maravich did, and I don't know, I'll candidly say, I do not know enough about Lynette Woodward. So I can't comment at all. But what Pete Maravich did was in a time that didn't have a shot clock, didn't have a three-point line.
And freshmen couldn't play, as I recall.
Yes. What Pete Maravich did was singular. That's not to take away from Caitlin Clark at all. But breaking the records, Pete did something that has an asterisk on his own accomplishment by the nature of the time and space that he did it in.
That's
But
right.
Lynette, who cares? And
I don't know. I don't know enough about what Lynette did, but Caitlin Clark is singular in her own time.
She is, and she'll be remembered for that. I don't think we always have to. Sometimes these record things they cloud the just the moment. Let's just be happy to have seen Caitlin Clark play in the way that we have. It's just been incredible. It stands on its own.
She's
record or
so
not.
much fun to watch.
She's she's just so good.
And,
so accurate.
and is
So
is
consistent.
an affirmation that if you broadcast this stuff, people become fans. Except for when they keep playing that goddamn repeat of her with the logo 3 against Michigan State. I'm a fan of Caitlin Clark.
indeed.
And people watch because you broadcast it.
And a direct answer to this question, officials timeout. You do an officials timeout. You have a moment. You do the whole thing. Back to the game.
That's right.
But maybe you get Chris Holtman there to complain about Cassius Winston kissing the floor. Sort of.
Yeah.
I'm glad
That's why he
he's
got
gone.
fired. Yeah, that's right. That's why he got fired.
Yeah. All right. Last up, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. How will you deal with March sadness? This is a departure from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy who's normally he's been killed. I think he knows.
Do you have that Flying Ace there, Jonesy? Do you want to do another plug on Flying Ace?
Flying Ace for March Sadness.
Cinnamon whiskey
that I planned on taking off the 2 days, the Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
oops!
I already talked to my boss about it.
Oops!
Well, go ahead. Try to go unring that bell if you can.
Did you knock on wood, Michael? As you were doing
Michael, go touch grass.
I figured if I just said Thursday, Friday, I want to watch all the games.
Sure, all the games. Yeah. Next up from Upper Deck Jerk Guy, Kevin Grech. What do you think of Aiken's last couple of games?
Doo-doo, caca.
Caca, that's it. That's it.
6-4. 6-4.
Nice. Good
He's
for
gotten
him.
away from those spot up threes, and maybe it's defenses are moving him around more. Maybe we're stupidly expecting more from him, but those spot up threes were lethal. He was catching the ball in the pocket, just raining those things. And I don't think I've seen him take one in the last 3 games now. So great.
And the rebounds
really
suck.
Good.
And he's shooting 0 for 0 or 0 for 20 from the fucking 2-point land.
Yep. And finally, you guys from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, have you ever thought about just disappearing?
Yeah.
Should we end the episode with a play out on How to Disappear Completely by Radiohead?
Wow. We start with Father Rocher and end with Das.
Yeah, I'm gonna ditch the graphics this week, and I'm just gonna do Papa Roach.
We also had an opportunity in here for Sufjan Stevens of some kind. I don't remember what it was, but I was thinking about making a Sufjan reference.
Oh,
Sufjan?
Sufjan. Who cares? Who cares? Truly.
Carrie Ann Lowell.
All right. This week sucked.
It was the Tanya Harding. Plum, what do we think about the Sufjan Tanya Harding song? I think it's a great
It's
song.
a beautiful song. And you know what? They have one in D major and one in E flat minor. And the E flat minor is even prettier. So beautiful song. Beautiful. I think I'm going to listen to it as soon as we're done.
Yep. And the album artwork, expertly done as well.
Expertly done. And somehow the song, not in the movie. Not in the movie.
Really? I thought it was the title.
Not in the movie.
Really? Interesting.
Not in the movie.
Let's all say a resounding Sufjan's great and go green.
Go white.
I should disappear completely.
Say it back, motherfucker.
No, I disappear completely. I renounce it. No, it's go
wow.
For sure. I don't renounce it. That was too much. That was too far.
Too much.
I take it back. I take it back. I called something
go green,
sissy
everyone.
at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, that was your best moment.